So you're thinking about moving to Northern Virginia and you have a budget of around $1 million and you're wondering, well, what the heck does $1 million get you in Northern Virginia just outside DC? Now, depending on where you're from, you might have a little bit of a sticker shock, or you might just look at it and be like, oh, $1 million gets pretty much what I thought it would. But depending on where in Northern Virginia you are, $1 million is not going to go as far as you want it to, or it's going to get you more than you had bargained for. So without further ado, let's get into it and see exactly what $1 million gets you here in Northern Virginia today. Hey everyone, this is Paul Kim with the Fast Results Group, and I'm your favorite Northern Virginia realtor here, operating in Northern Virginia, kind of DC and Maryland as well, but mostly here in Northern Virginia. Today, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk a little bit about exactly how far your $1 million will take you in this area. Depending on where you want to go, the product you get for $1 million is going to vary significantly. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first place that we want to check out is Arlington, Virginia. Now, Arlington, Virginia is one of the most popular cities to live in the entire country. So $1 million is not going to go as far in Arlington as it is in different cities as we go further west outside of DC, which we'll get into later. But for Arlington, generally you're going to find maybe a single family detached home that's older, potentially renovated, or a nice 2 to 3 bedroom condo. Different neighborhoods that you can look in are Clarendon, Ballston, Rosslyn, Lyon Park. There's a whole bunch of neighborhoods here in Arlington, and there's another video that talks about those. But today, let me show you specifically a couple of options that I found for $1 million in Arlington. All right, the first property that I want to show you here in Rosslyn, which is probably one of the more urban centers of Arlington that gives you that city feel without actually being in the city of DC. For just under $1 million at $975,000 is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, about 1,400 square feet. Now it is more urban. Let me show you why it's considered so. It's just across the river. This is a view from the patio. High-rise condos. Okay, you can see that it's updated pretty decently. These tall floor to almost ceiling windows. Staged pretty well. 2 to 3 bedrooms. Okay, keep in mind here that it is still built in 1980. Arlington doesn't always have the newest things. You do get a garage space, but also because it's a condo, you're looking at another $1,400 a month in dues. I'm not going to get into different amenities and what the condo fees actually get you here, but for $1 million, one option potentially is this 2-bedroom condo. Nice views, urban feel, walkability, if you're into that sort of thing. Also in Arlington, in the 22204 area, I won't get into too much of where exactly in Arlington this is, but you get a newer townhome built in 2017. You get a 1-car garage parking. You do have HOA dues of almost $400 a month, but let me show you real quick what kind of townhome. Newer style, got the big open concept kitchen, the island in the middle. Kind of on par with a lot of the newer construction homes that we see nowadays. Priced just under $1 million as well, $970,000, 2,600 square feet. So obviously more space than the condo. It's not going to have as much of that urban feel as we did in Rosslyn though. And the last one that I'll show you here in Arlington for $980,000, so just a little bit under $1 million, is the first detached single family home that I want to show you here. Okay, this one actually is renovated very nicely as well. Every once in a while, you're going to see these nicely renovated homes that you can get for under $1 million, but they will probably be small, as you can tell. Right, 2,000 square feet, not tiny, but also not huge for a detached home. But at least from the pictures, it has been renovated quite nicely. You definitely have to take an inspector in there just to see the nitty-gritty details about the quality of the work. But overall, this home actually was a surprise to me, even when I found it as well, just looking at the quality of the work and the finishes for under $1 million actually in Arlington, Virginia. So every once in a while, you'll find a gem like this, but I will say this is kind of an anomaly. The second city in Northern Virginia that I want to look at is Vienna, Virginia. Now, Vienna is a little bit further west. It's outside of the 495 Beltway. So if you take 66 West out of DC, you cross that beltway and you're kind of into like that first suburban area outside of 495. It is more suburban, and because it's more suburban, you're going to get a little bit more for your money. So let me show you exactly what you get. All right, first example here. In Vienna, Virginia, for $950,000 is a 5-bedroom home. That's single family detached home for 2,500 square feet, built in 1977. So you're all going to find a lot of these. I don't want to say too old, but they are older builds, 60s, 70s, 80s in Vienna, which they are beginning to tear down and rebuild new. But those get into like the 2.5 million. So we're not going to cover that today. But back to our home, $950,000. This is a single family home. It's a split foyer. You can see the dated carpet. Right, older cabinets, not crazy old. Like it's not out of the 70s when the home was built, but it's also not new. Nice little sunroom area. You can see that deck out back. Some updated fixtures. Got some yard space, probably about a 1/4 acre, maybe 0.3. Oh, look at that, 0.28 acres. 1977. The good thing about these obviously is that because it's a single family home, there's not going to be any HOA fees associated with it. Next home in Vienna, $950,000, a little bit less than $1 million. This guy is a townhome that is not newer like we saw in Arlington, but it is about the same size, 2,300. You can see the updated floors. All right. Now, important thing about this guy is built in the 90s, so it's not that old, it's not that new. The HOA fees this way, west into Vienna, are generally going to be less than east in Northern Virginia. It's been on the market for 32 days, so it may be a little bit overpriced for our current market conditions today, but at the same time, it's not that long. Okay. Last home here in Vienna. This is literally just under $1 million, 9,999, 2,300 square feet, 4 bedrooms. Built in the 60s, like I mentioned before. Similar lot size as a 1/4 acre. This one's updated as well. Now, if you're wondering why certain homes cost more or less, like this one seems more updated than the first one that we saw. Is it worth the price? Obviously, the things that you have to consider are the house itself, but the little nuances of the neighborhoods in each individual city, in Vienna as well, to understand exactly how pricing works. So I'm not going to get into all of that right now for the purposes of this video. I'm just trying to give you a big ballpark idea of what $1 million could get you here in Vienna as well as other cities. So Vienna, as you can tell, you can get more land, a little bit more house than you can in Arlington. The feel is a little bit different, but you get what you get for your $1 million. All right, next we're going to go to Fairfax. Fairfax is kind of the central hub of Northern Virginia. It's central because you can pretty much go anywhere from Fairfax. You'll also see that Fairfax is pretty broad. If you go as far west, almost into Chantilly, or go east, basically up until the Annandale area, but that range is so big. You're gonna see that $1 million in Fairfax will get you different homes based on where you are within the greater area of Fairfax. And so again, because of the nuances, if you want to learn more, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it, so reach out to me. But in general, in Fairfax, you're going to get more home than Vienna as well as Arlington for less money. It's going to be a quieter and even more suburban feel generally than what we've talked about so far. But let me give you a couple of examples here. Okay, first home. It's not on the market yet, but it's coming soon, just in a week or so on August 5th. First home, not on the market yet, but it's coming soon as of this video's recording, just under $1 million at $990,000 basically. 3-bedroom, 4-bath, and 3,200 square feet. So this is a good sized townhome that you're going to see in this area. Anytime that you see above 3,200 square feet for a townhome, you can tell it's going to be big, usually a 2-car garage, but it will depend. In this case, it has been built in 2015, so it's actually a pretty newer home, and there's HOA dues of $142, which probably takes care of landscaping and some small amenities in the complex. This is what it looks like. All right, it's pretty common for townhomes in this area to go up the steps and into the middle floor. This actually is an end unit, so for $1 million you get an end unit. You can see the garage right here. There's not a lot of interior pictures because it is coming soon, but keep in mind it is 2015. Our second home here in Fairfax, you can see under $1,975,000, close enough. It's gonna be a 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath. It's actually 3,500 square feet, even though it says 2,800 up here. Sometimes they do that, but usually this is more accurate because they've measured it. Sometimes this is a mistake, sometimes just above ground. So we'll see the details specifically when we look at the home. But it is 0.31 acres, about a third of an acre, built in 81. So it's not that old. It is past the lead paint era. And no, oh, there is a small HOA, $7 a month. $7 a month. I'll just leave it at that. Screened in porch, 3,500, detached home, not bad. Third one we'll get into. This is another newer townhome, $950,000, 2,400 square feet, built in 2018. HOA dues are on the higher side, $526 a month. Has a 2-car garage, but this home is like in the heart of Fairfax. So as you can tell from the pictures, it's a lot newer. Okay, I won't talk about why this area of Fairfax is so nice off of Main Street, like Fairfax City area, but it is nice, and that's why sometimes you get a little bit of a premium, what we're seeing here. But it's nice, clean, newer construction home. And you get garage space. Okay, so that's what you get in Fairfax. And now in our search, we're gonna go all the way out to Loudoun County into Ashburn. Now, Ashburn is a lot newer than what you find closer into DC because it is not only a separate county, it's the farthest west that we're going to look at today. Because it's newer, Ashburn and Loudoun County in general tends to have a lot of nicer, newer homes for cheap, especially because it's further away from DC. So let me show you just a couple of options here in Ashburn. This home is $935,000, so under $1 million, but it's almost 3,800 square feet. It's built in 2017. It's a townhome, and the HOA dues are relatively low, $84 a month. Show you some pictures. Kind of a standard, newish build. Again, the open concept has the white counters, white cabinets, the big island in the middle, the kitchen, great room area. Little mudroom from the garage, laundry, very clean, well taken care of, pretty new. As you can see, these are all planned communities in the area that are being built because there was so much land out there before, and a lot of people moving to this area due to work, the government, as well as tech hubs that are being in Loudoun County. Just a lot of homes being built. Okay, $935,000. Ashburn, almost 4,000 square feet. So already you're getting quite a bit for your money. Here is a single family option. And like we said before, Ashburn, you're going to get more for your money, mostly because of the location and the distance from DC. For $1 million, 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house, 4,300 square feet. Okay, that's the biggest home that we've seen so far today. So it's pretty sizable. Built in 1990, so it's not that old. Standard-ish 1/4 acre lot, and $139 a month for HOA. We don't know what that covers yet. You can see the pictures. Some good landscaping. I mean, I got them upgraded light fixtures, skylights. Looks like the kitchen is updated a little bit. But overall, it looks like a pretty clean 90s home. The important thing about this home, like I said before, is that it's 4,300 square feet for $1 million. So if you want a nicer, newer, single family home that's not too old, but probably has some good amount of space, Ashburn might be where you want to be for $1 million. And last but not least, we're going to look at McLean. Now, McLean is just west of Arlington, Virginia, and it's probably one of the most expensive places to live here in Northern Virginia, if not the entire country. And so let's see exactly what it gets you. So here's the first one that we're going to look at just under $1 million. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,000 square feet in McLean. It is a 13,000 square foot lot, so it's about 0.3 acres. Now, you're going to see this in McLean quite often, where it's just a home on a lot, and they're not even going to show pictures of the interior of the home because it's assumed that people who are buying something for this price in McLean, that's about 0.25, 0.3 acres, is just literally buying it for the land so they could tear it down and rebuild the home. So in McLean, for $1 million, you might just be able to buy some land. Now, that's not the only case all the time, but this is pretty common to see. In fact, you could even argue that $1 million for this much land is on the cheaper side. So what can you get for $1 million in McLean? For $900,000, you can get a older townhome built in 1970s. Decent size, kind of on the smaller side, 1,600 square feet. HOA dues, not too crazy. All right, no garage, so it's the older townhome style where you have assigned parking spaces, but at least it's renovated. All right, you can see the newer floors, the lights, the kitchen. It's a nice, cozy home for $900K. $100,000 under $1 million. So if it's just a couple, maybe a small family, and you're interested in McLean schools, and your budget's $1 million, something like this might be a good fit for you. And the last one I'll show you here is in McLean, something newer. 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath condo. All right, the 4th floor, you can tell it's newer. Similar style, open kitchen, open great room. Got those big windows. This is closer to the Tysons area where more apartments and skyscrapers and these big condo buildings are. Now, one thing to keep in mind in McLean, a lot of times people go to McLean for the schools. And so even though the housing prices are at a premium, people are willing to pay that premium because of the school district. However, in a place like this, built in 2021, you should know exactly what you're getting at, because this is not the McLean school district that a lot of people are assuming that they're getting into if they have a McLean address. And so while there are still great schools all throughout Northern Virginia, if you're looking for a specific school district like McLean or Langley High School, then just have to keep in mind that just because it's a McLean address does not necessarily mean that it is a McLean school district. So something like this, condos, under $1 million, about $1 million in McLean, but there are nuances to it like everything else. Now, that's not an exhaustive list of everything for $1 million in Northern Virginia. Obviously, there's also a lot more neighborhoods that we didn't cover. There's Burke, there's Fairfax Station, Clifton, Centerville, Chantilly. You can go into Oakton, Springfield, Andale. There's so many different options and cities that you can go into with this $1 million budget. But I just wanted to give you a taste of what $1 million will get you in some of the more popular areas that people move to when they're moving here from different areas of the country or even from different areas of the world. So after looking at some of these houses, you may be elated with the amount of home you can get for $1 million, which in my opinion probably is not the case, or you may be quite disappointed in the $1 million budget because it only gets you fill in the blank and it's not what you expected. Now, because this was such a broad general exercise, it does not mean that if you have $1 million budget, it's always going to fit into this little bubble of the homes that we saw. However, there are nuances to every home, every neighborhood, every school district. Depends on your commute. Do you even have to commute, or can you work from home? Do you have kids, no kids, dogs? Depending on who you are and what you're looking for, we can make sure that $1 million budget gets as much home that you specifically need that's going to best suit you and your family if you have one. So with that being said, if you have any further questions about the Northern Virginia real estate market, if you're looking to buy here, sell and leave, or just curious about Northern Virginia in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. My name is Paul Kim. My information is down below. You can call me, text me, email me. My team and I will be happy to serve you in the best way possible. Until next time.